one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
This is Discover Crypto. Every day on the channel, we teach you how to make money with crypto and digital assets. We got a very major show today. Breaking news from Donald Trump's camp. Donald Trump Media is announcing a new altcoin ETF. He has chosen new altcoin favorites. And one of those altcoins I bet a lot of you are holding right now. We'll go ahead and tease it out. Crypto.com Crow holders is included in the Trump ETF as the biggest gainer of today. We're going to look at the other altcoins in this index and talk about maybe some of the ones that he snubbed. I know the Salana Moon Boys are happy. The Cardano Maxis, they're enraged right now. But I am joined with TJ, and his dog's name's Ada, so he's punching the air too. How are you doing today, TJ?
I'm feeling good. Enjoying crypto, enjoying all the fun debates we have here around the office before the show about price and what to expect and price action.
I just said this bull run for Bitcoin is complete doo-doo.
Compared to ones in the past.
Compared to ones in the past, that's for sure, folks. All right, well, let's look at Bitcoin here. We're going to go to the 1 minute. We're going to stretch this thing out because Bitcoin on some pretty wild swings this morning here. You can see right around 9:45, then 10 a.m. on the dot right there. 10 a.m. fell off a cliff, and well, you look at that right around at 10:25, 10:30, and then started to bounce. So we're looking at Bitcoin's price here, but if we zoom out, we do have some larger time frames. We're going to look at some other stuff, and we're going to look at this parallel channel. What is going on? Are we going to dip back into this thing? But Bitcoin right now holding some strength, holding some nice support here. But it's the altcoins that are kind of stealing the show today, and it's Donald Trump's fault. We're going to talk about that in 1 second. Let's just check the prices, hit refresh, make sure we got all the clean, fresh data here. And Crow is pumping, everybody. Crow's up 15%. Even though it had a pretty significant pullback after the pump, it is trying to climb even higher here. Was not able to reclaim 10 cents, the dime mark. And if you look, Crow was flirting with $1 last cycle. Now, if we go to market cap, Crow isn't issued all that much here. So Crow hit over $20 billion. Right now, Crow's market cap is $2.8 billion. Now, TJ, we're kind of talking about the state of the market. The current environment, nothing has been better for Crypto.com as a company. But Crow, the token, is still way down below its previous all-time highs. What are your thoughts about that? And can it reclaim some of the 80 cent range?
Yeah, I think what's 80 cents is the top there. Yeah, it can definitely make a really, really strong run. We know exchanges here are setting themselves up to compete with banks, to compete with eToros and Robinhoods and big institutional players of the past. Crypto.com seems to be one of the chosen ones when it comes to regulatory clarity. They've got really good marketing. I actually had a call with Crypto.com just the other day. They've got some really big things rolling out later this year, so I expect it to do well. Now, reclaiming 80 cents, that's a pretty tall order. I mean, I guess that's a 10x from here. Is that what are you still looking at? Yeah.
Yeah, this is
9
price.
cents.
Yeah.
I mean, so can it be done? Yes, it absolutely can. Exchange coins typically have performed well outside of FTT. I've stayed away from Crow because of FTT and everything that's happened. We've seen exchanges that have their own token kind of get somewhat targeted and be able to manipulate things, so to speak. I don't lean towards it. BNB, if I had to choose an exchange token, is probably the one I'm buying. But this is pretty big news. A Trump-backed ETF, and I believe CRO, XRP was in it, but CRO was weighted higher than XRP, which I found pretty interesting. So,
yeah, let's get into the details here of Donald Trump and everything they got going on. Then we'll jump back in. First, let me just look at that chart. People talk about God candles, and it's like, oh, Bitcoin moved 1%. That's a God candle, folks. That's the 7-day, and you can look at the 1 month and even the 3 month. I mean, that thing's just shooting up straight vertical there. Well, let's talk about it. So Trump's Truthful. Trump's Truth Social has the plans here for a new crypto ETF. They're going to have Bitcoin, ETH, Salana, and more. So let's get into that here. And so they have filed for this. And the other tokens, Crow and XRP. I know, yes, Cardano holders were furious right now. But according to the filing with the SEC, this Truth Social Crypto Blue Chip ETF plans to directly hold 5 major cryptocurrencies. Now, fun little aside, TJ, we went on a little deep dive. Where's blue chip come from?
Poker.
Poker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a 1920 or 1820s or 1920s.
No, I think it was back in the 1920s. The blue chip was the most valuable chip, and so it started from poker, and then some stockbrokers comparing it to stocks, basically the most expensive stocks on the market at the time. They're saying there were blue chip stocks, and that's where that phrase comes from.
There you go. Nice little blue chip lore. Well, the breakdown is showing, here's the ratio that TJ was alluding to. 70% of this ETF is going to be in Bitcoin. So if you invest $1 in this ETF, 70 cents goes to Bitcoin, 15% goes to Ether, 8% goes to Solana, 5% for the Crow token, and then the last 2% goes to XRP. So that's what TJ was talking about. Higher allocation for Crow versus XRP. Now, this is pretty significant because the difference in their market cap sizes. So Crow, $2.8 billion market cap. And if we look at XRP, a lot larger than 2.8, we're talking about, was it 60? 130, God, this thing just moves. $135 billion market cap. So big difference there. 2.8 versus 135. Now, to make this plan work, Truth is partnering with big crypto players. Crypto.com will handle the custody, staking, and liquidity. For now, the plan is waiting for approval. The SEC must clear the registration statement and then sign off on their 19B4 form there. And then, boom, we have a altcoin ETF released by the president. How wild is that, TJ?
It's pretty insane. Now, obviously, they would say, oh, it's released by Truth Social, not the president himself. But yeah, a company directly linked to the president. President is very much involved with crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, especially. We're seeing tons. I've seen more Ethereum accumulation in the last 30 days than I've probably seen in a very long time. So I'm feeling quite confident we're going to see a really strong Ethereum move to the second half of this year. We all know Truth Social, World Liberty Fi, Ethereum far and away their biggest holding. They're just piling in and piling in. If they're going to be moving towards DeFi, Ethereum is more or less going to be the backbone in the ecosystem you're looking to participate in. So the more we see stable coins roll out, and I saw somebody else say something the other day where it was like, it's, Arbitrum won with Robinhood, and that was a huge win for them, but there's going to be, and then they listed about 10 other institutions that are all going to be coming on chain, and it's going to be the big wave of institutions coming on chain. We're starting to see it with financial institutions accumulating the assets, but we haven't really seen it when it comes to mainstream institutions implementing it into their business. Things like Amazon, things like Walmart, Google, Apple. We're hearing them researching about it. We're hearing them looking into it, building out the framework, working on the regulation and the regulatory due diligence they need to do. But now we're getting to the point where we're going to start to see those things roll out. And the second half of this year, and I believe really even into next year, is when we're going to see all of that stuff really pay off. So it's going to be good.
All right, people are asking, is it a good investment? I don't think it's terrible. I hate buying the wicks personally, but
Crow?
This megaphone, Crow megaphone pattern probably is going to play out. This has been going on since December 22. So this is a pretty important area to pay attention to. We do have some other comments here I wanted to get into. This is kind of funny. XRP, that was an afterthought. They forgot that they gave Trump $5 million for his election. Was that the number? I can't recall if that was the number.
It sounds. I think that's the max. I don't know if it was Ripple that did it, or Garlinghouse, or Larson, or whatever.
We do know Brad. Of course, he gave $1 million to Kamala. That didn't end up working too well for him. Euphony machine here. I like this comment.
Oh, sorry.
Don't love it. Honestly, give opponents, aka the Democrats, more ammunition to attack Trump on crypto and conflicts of interest. Is that worth what we get with this ETF? So on one hand, we're having, all right, well, Trump administration, probably Republicans at large, the GOP base, the MAGA base, they are more supportive of crypto. But now Elizabeth Warren and her anti-crypto army have more bullets in their machinery here to attack the crypto industry. Is it a net gain or net negative, in your opinion, TJ?
I'd say it's a net gain. I think Trump, there's plenty of things to attack Trump on. It doesn't really matter if you give him another one. I think the attention this is bringing to crypto, he really, like it or not, with what's been going on recently, he has at least delivered on all of his promises he made to the crypto industry. You could argue maybe a lot of his other promises he didn't necessarily deliver on, but when it comes to crypto, we're getting clear regulation that is getting pushed forward at a rapid pace, and all of these ETFs coming out and getting approved and getting pushed through. all of the different assets that are getting listed and the mainstream attention that they're getting, I think is extremely net positive for the space. There's no, in my opinion, it's a very hard argument to say the industry isn't in a much better place today than it was 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Because we're moving forward at a rapid pace. So I think it's great.
All right, now I got some beef with someone here. Was it Ricky Romero? I think it was. All right, Ricky Romero. Let's hold DZ accountable. Let's roast DZ if deserved, but maybe not. Maybe I saved you. So he said, y'all said Kronos is bad like a month ago when I sent a super chat. Well, let's check it out. What if it was 30 days ago? Because yeah, I mean, maybe you were going to be up, but let's check because the math is looking like it ain't mathing. All right, so we're going to go right here. We're going to go to the current price, and we're going to move it 30 days, 20 days. Uh-oh. And it looks like we saved you. We saved you right there. So yeah, it ended up having a nice little decline there. So if you were, disagreeing with me, you should have just zoomed out and looked at this large trend line that we've talked about in the past. So, testing that trend line was a pretty good buying opportunity. This kind of reminds me of what Frank says all the time. Show me the chart and I'll show you the news. This looks like it was poised to bounce regardless. But when it does move to the top of this range, it has moved pretty suddenly and pretty violently. That took 14 days. Jeez, that's pretty fast. And this took, another 2 weeks. So it's reached the top of this range in 2 weeks before.
And what's the top of that range? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, that's a good question here. Let's see. So we might be looking at nice little 4x there. It could go up to 36 cents, 37 cents there.
Yeah. To me, that seems like I see Steve-O here saying Crow will dump in a day or two. Nobody uses the chain. Not a great sex. Could be true. I've also, we've got this guy out here saying easiest price prediction ever, $1 CRO, which he's just claiming it's going to re-hit its all-time high. Like I said earlier, I don't see that happening in short order. It could over time if all the cards align and everything happens. But I think that 36, 40 cent, top of that range you just showed, DZ, probably is a lot more of a reasonable expectation. People love Crow. I will say that. Anybody that I talk to they hold a bunch of it and they really believe in it. And when I tell them, because Ricky Romero, I have said several times, like, I'm not a Crow holder and I'm not looking to accumulate that anytime soon, even though they've got very good brand recognition. And then when you try to explain that to people, they just go on and on and on and on about why it's the bet. When they're like, hey, you think it's a good idea that I hold this much Crow? And I'm like, probably not. And then they go and tell me why it's a really, really good idea. And I'm like, all right, well, hey, if you love it, hold it. I hope it works out for you. But for me, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, there's just so many Aero, Ondo, Aave. There's so many more interesting things to me than another centralized exchange token. If I had to own a centralized exchange token, it's BNB, just because Binance, in my opinion, is kind of like the Amazon of this industry. A lot of activity on Binance Smart Chain. So if I'm going to hold an exchange,
who'd you rather have lunch with, Jeff Bezos or CZ?
That's an interesting question. Probably Jeff Bezos, just because he's got more experience. Nothing against CZ, but Bezos has just been doing it longer, running in those circles. I think it'd be really interesting to pick his brain for a while. But I'd take either one. But if I had to pick one,
chat, let us know who you're gonna have. That is a good question. I feel like Jeff is a better conversationalist when it comes to like encapsulating, business style ideas and just, boiling it down to a simple thesis. I feel CZ can maybe get, it's not like as bad as talking to Vitalik, but, he might just kind of go off on some
like just too smart, just like giga brain level stuff.
I don't even want to say it's too smart. It's an inability to recognize your audience. And so some might say it's a stupid thing. But, a lot of people have that lower social IQ, I guess.
EQ.
So, I don't want to say he's dumb by any means, but that would be I would go with Jeff. I think I'd go with Jeff there. Doge prediction. We're going to do a Doge prediction pretty soon. Crow has too many sponsorships to fail. Some might say they have too many line item advertising budgetary items there that they have to take care of, though. So I don't know what some of those things cost.
Well, and you got to remember there's a difference between, crypto.com, CRO failing and crypto.com failing. Crypto.com, I don't think is going to fail. That doesn't mean I want to hold their token. That's all. It's some
are saying CZ because he's a little bit harder. You know what I mean? He's a thug.
I'd like to do either one. CZ is is the dude. He's the GOAT. He's one of the best in crypto, one of the best to do it. Incredibly intelligent. As it relates to this industry, I'm sure I would love picking his brain. I'm just when it comes to like life, I just think it'd be, again, I guess I value experience a lot, and I just think, I put it this way: I think CZ would enjoy having lunch with Bezos and picking his brain. So why wouldn't I?
Yeah, there you go. Let's see. We're going to talk about the Joe Rogan kerfuffle, how it ended up being Sean Ryan for Charles Hoskinson. Have you listened to that yet? I've done about 1/4 of it.
I've seen just the highlights. I haven't seen the whole thing.
I'm refusing to watch the highlights because I find when I watch too many highlights, I won't listen to the source material. I'll be like, I got all the
What's your take? What's your initial thought so far? You said you're halfway?
Not quite. It's like 4 hours or something. He's really into his plants.
Yeah.
He has like the bioluminescent plants, and there's some pretty cool ideas that they do have with that.
He is Charles or
Charles? Yeah, it reminds me. If you ever seen Minority Report, there's a scene where he goes into a lady's greenhouse, and she has like weaponized vines and stuff like that. And some of the stuff he was saying, how like the world's hardest, I think, thorny bush can be, modified to, do certain colors and grow as fast as, say, bamboo. And next thing you know, it's like you're going to have real weaponized plants.
Now watch out. Charles is going to be like spawning like poison ivy type characters on his ranch over there. He's going to have humans that can like control the plants and stuff with their minds. That'd be wild.
I mean, imagine
put
like
it past him.
A looter tries to climb his fence and then, a tree kills you. And he'd be like, hey, I didn't do it. It was my tree.
Groot just root stomps you or whatever.
I want to see the world where, because we've seen it in movies where the roots come out of the ground and they wrap themselves. And, the next thing you know, you're like,
stuck.
That's probably going to happen. All right. Watch it all. Super interesting. Go Longhorns. Go Longhorns. All right. Let's talk about some of these other Trump stories here. So this isn't the first foray into an ETF for Truth Social here. I did find out what percentage of, DJT Media, because this is a DJT Media ETF. We keep saying it's a Trump ETF, which is true, but it's from Trump Media and Technology Group. Trump owns 52.9% of Trump Media. So when we say it's a Trump ETF, he owns more than half of the company that owns this ETF or that's launching this ETF. And of course, it is in a trust, but his son, Don Jr., is the sole trustee. And do you think he tells Don Jr. like what to do with hey, what are you doing? Buy more Bitcoin? I don't know. That'd be illegal if he did. But they have filed another one. And now, in fact, the SEC has acknowledged the Bitcoin ETH ETF. We kind of talked about this when it passed. So the clock has now started for the SEC to approve or reject the fund here. So they're going to have to choose a direction. And of course, we've talked about this. This is from April 22. We've been talking about this. There's going to be more. It might not just stop at the altcoin basket one that we just saw. Bitcoin as the primary asset there. Trump's media arm will launch a string of made in America ETFs with crypto.com. So this has been known, but we first reported it about, I guess, 2 months ago, and now we're seeing more and more of this. What is, let's say, TJ, he's going to do a standalone altcoin ETF. It's not ETH. What do you think Trump Media applies for?
Standalone, not Bitcoin, not ETH.
Yeah.
Solana.
I'm thinking Solana too. Solana too. And seeing the percentage that Solana makes up of this one, Solana is 8%. And so, yeah, more than likely it'll be Solana versus XRP, Crow. Let's see, Litecoin, Cardano, you name it.
Like you're never going to they're really just doing the major ones that are US, but they're skipping over BNB. They don't seem to have as favorable view of XRP because both seem to have Solana weighted higher than XRP. Which again, we know David Sachs, Solana advisor. Again, I keep coming. Solana, when it comes to altcoin, Bitcoin is the king. Bitcoin is entrenched. Bitcoin is the one you should be accumulating. It has the greatest opportunity to change your life in the long term. You just need to zoom out and be patient. Almost anybody that I know that has been investing in Bitcoin for more than 6 years is basically wealthy at this point. Now moving to altcoins, huge opportunity in Ethereum and just as big in Solana, in my opinion. It's got retail. It's got actual good user experience. It's got liquidity. They've had some issues with the network uptime when it comes to DeFi. So when you're dealing with DeFi, I have a few issues with it, but I think they will work that out over time. And I just think they've got the right people in the right place, enough brand recognition. Somehow they've gotten past the FTX stench that was on them for a while. So yeah, I see Solana to
Feel like
continue to
the
do well.
beanbag chair at the office, I think.
Yeah.
Well, like Carolyn. All right, now let's talk about now. I mentioned Litecoin earlier, and so that's the second time I said it. And TJ, you know what happens when you say Litecoin 3 times?
Tom Crown appears.
Tom Crown appears, everybody. Big shout out to Tom Crown. Very good chart analysis and also really good Jerome Powell streams there. But Tom Crown, every year the bull run, Bitcoin tests the 300-day simple moving average. And that's also sandwiched between the 60 and the 150-day simple moving average. If this repeats this year, Bitcoin will soon see new all-time highs. And so this is the chart that he's talking about. You can see essentially a 3-step setup. A bear cross, in which the what was the number 60 over 150? Bear cross, where the short-term moving average says short-term is lower than the long-term. So that is going to be a bear cross. Then we get a test of the 300-day simple moving average. Then we get our bull cross. Happen here, we're going to measure it. Happen here, we're going to measure it. And it just happened again, and we're going to kind of see if we can determine where Bitcoin's going to be heading. So these are the 3 lines. Sorry, the red ones are maybe a little bit harder to see for the people with eyes like me. But this is the recent bull crossover that we saw right there. There's the test of the 300, bull crossover, test of 300, and then there's the bull crossover. So let's go ahead and measure. We'll do from the cross. We'll do it from the cross. So we're looking at the red line crossing over this teal one. It's essentially about right there. That gave us, drum roll please, 170% pump. That's a 2.7x. Then we have another bull cross. You can see the red kind of slipping down below. And then you can see the red crossing up above right around here. 170%. Now we got about an 80, 85%. So we've cut it in half, right? We'll just say 160. Then we went to 80. So what's the next pump going to look like? I mean, it could look like a 40% pump. There is the bullish crossover right there. If this were to continue, 160 to 80 to 40, that does give us a new all-time high, but about $121,000. Now, we did about 160. Then we did an 80% pump. What are the odds you think we see just the 40% pump, just to kind of keep things in the same pattern here?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could see a 40%. But a lot of people are calling for that 120 to 125 here soon. Call it this month. So I would be very much in line with those predictions. Just how far? What was that? Where was that first crossover? What was the date on it? How far back?
The first crossover, if we really, really want to try to look real accurately, that was October 23.
23. So that was right. Yeah, so that was the end of 23 as we went into 24. Interesting. And then we got it again around the election time, I assume, is when that other one was.
Yeah, and you can see it crossing over right there, and right before the election, September 24.
Yeah, and then this guy's saying the 618 extension is 121K. That's the one I've been seeing a lot of people talking about. So yeah, I think that I can see that playing out very, very quickly, and and on and upward from there.
All right, and the guy was talking about Fibonacci sequences, and I don't know from what he was doing, swing high to swing low, anything like that. So we do look at that though, 618, 135. So yeah, we got a lot of room for Bitcoin to go, and this is going to make you think it's even more likely here. We have another historical point to look at. Bitcoin miners are stocking up, and Bitcoin is slowing. History points to what is going to come next. What will the miners do? Are they going to hodl or are they going to sell? And so we're looking at crypto mining stocks. They're surging faster than Bitcoin's price. So when Bitcoin trades sideways near 108, the mining stocks have risen significantly. So what we're seeing here, let me zoom in just a little bit for you folks here. What we're seeing is the divergence breaking down. So surprisingly, the price and market cap of miners, so Bitcoin's price, market cap of miners, no longer moving in sync. In fact, you can say buy, buy, buy. Historically, a declining correlation between the two signals is a surge in volatility. This is because miners hold significant Bitcoin reserves, making them key market makers. So despite soaring stock prices, as of now, the miners are not selling their Bitcoin. And so this is the metric. Did I pull it up? No, I'm going to zoom in here. I had issues trying to look at it. So we'll just look a little closely. Bitcoin miner outflow, all miners, we're seeing largely a trend to the downside, a trend of less selling. So when this metric declines, it suggests that miners are not sending their Bitcoin to exchanges, resulting in fewer coins being exposed to sell. Now, remember, we keep talking about, well, BlackRock bought 1,000 and we only mined 450.
Mm-hmm.
When we're mining 450, we're not having 450 hit the market. Might only have 50 hit the market or 400 or somewhere in between. You can see a lot of disparity in the sell days. And so this is, I know we keep saying, oh, there's 2 million Bitcoin left on exchanges. How are we going to have a supply shock? This essentially leads to increased demand. TJ, what's supply and demand? It's how prices are.
It's markets 101. Mm-hmm.
So the market is suggesting, we might see some upward pressure. And we're going to see upward pressure. What company is going to be acquiring tons of this mysterious asset?
MicroStrategy, 21 cap. I mean, a bunch. You're talking about Bitcoin? You're talking about?
It was more than MicroStrategy on behalf of their clients.
Oh, BlackRock.
BlackRock. Well, they just passed a significant milestone, and we got the timeline for 1 million Bitcoin.
Wow.
BlackRock now owns 700,000 Bitcoin.
Crazy.
Here's when 1 million may come true. Of course, we don't know. We're just kind of looking at historical historical accumulation, and then we can get a number to determine when are they going to pass 1 million Bitcoin here. And so 700K, that's just insane, isn't it?
That is insane. I mean, that's more than MicroStrategy.
A lot of Papa John's pizzas there. iShares IBIT, the Bitcoin ETF for BlackRock, has officially crossed the threshold that no other spot ETF has reached. 700,000 Bitcoin, $75 billion at current prices, and roughly 3.5% of the entire circulating supply. Now, the raw number is impressive, but what's attention is how quickly it's been growing. So January 24, it's average 39,000 Bitcoin a month. And so what is the rate? How long will it take for us to hit 1 million? At that rate, the fund could surpass 1 million less than a year, TJ, early 2026.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's going to give them 5% of all mined Bitcoin in the hands of a single issuer. Very, very insane metric to think about.
That is insane. I mean, and MicroStrategy, they won't be too far behind. I think we'll see a couple over 1 million in 2026. So if they have 1 million, that's 5%. MicroStrategy has 1 million, that's 5%. Supposedly the U.S. government wants to get up to 5%. I'm sure 21 Capital wants to be in that competition range as well. So yeah, the game theory is really kicking, and that's just U.S. Let's not mention UAE and Russia and other parts of the world that are all trying to accumulate Bitcoin as fast as they can as well. So it really is a game to get as much as you can, as fast as you can, without, in my opinion, triggering a reverse bank run, so to speak, where the price runs away, everybody's leaving banks, and it's harder to get because everybody's trying to come get it. Really, what we're seeing right now is some of the richest capital allocators in the world trying to accumulate as fast as they can without putting off too many alarm bells, and it's playing out right in front of us. And that's why we're seeing those Bitcoin treasury companies really take off on the stock market like altcoins, because the race is really on to get as much Bitcoin as you can as fast as possible, become the next Bitcoin bank, replace all the old banks. And I mean, it really is, we have the easiest trade in front of us that we're ever going to have in our lifetime. We're literally witnessing the transition from an old money system to a new money system. Now, most of the players will still be the same. Most of the people that had all the old money will also be in this new money system, and they will have most of it as well. We have the opportunity to get our piece right now. This is going to take a long time. That's something that they told me when I came into this space almost a decade ago. They said, hey, lower your time preference. Take it easy. Don't rush. Don't try to get rich in one cycle. Don't rush and try to do it all in one.
Who's they? Years. The Illuminati?
No, maxis, Bitcoin maxis. People that were trying to help me understand Bitcoin early on that said, look, if you can, the more patient you can be in this process, the more you're going to enjoy it, the wealthier you're going to be. And I have slowly learned that. And a lot of people have to do it on their own journey. You got to go, a lot of us that are in this space got here because we are independent thinkers, and somebody tells us something and we're like, all right, that sounds good, but I'm going to go figure it out for myself. That was me. I had to go. And had I just simply bought and stacked Bitcoin and major altcoins and just basically held and built them up over time, I would have been in a much better position than I am right now. But that being said, it's still been extremely lucrative, still happy. I've learned as much as I did on this journey. But that's why I'm imploring you, if everything you believe is true about Bitcoin, then this is the easiest trade you're going to have for the next decade, maybe maybe multiple decades. So if you can just say, look, I'm going to slowly build that stack and get as much Bitcoin as I can over the next 10 years, you should be able to set your family up for a long time.
All right, we're going to talk about Arrow later on. So if you hold some arrows, stick around for that section as well. Where is Josh? Josh was up to like 2, 3 a.m. Doing a lot of trades and working on the vlog. And so he's going to be dropping some content later on.
He'll be in this afternoon, guys. If you're not in the Discord, that's where he is a lot. So make sure you get in there. The link is in the description. You can follow along both DZ's trades, Josh's trades, Kelly, Drew, the whole team. I'm in there as well. I'm reviewing one of our members' portfolios later this afternoon, where I'm going to break down, what their spread is and maybe what they could be looking into. But yeah, there's a lot in there. That's where we spend a lot of time. So if you're not in there, make sure to do that. But anytime we're in there in the middle of the night, we'll probably trade off when we're doing morning shows.
In the middle of the night. Let's talk about Jack Dorsey, everybody. I don't know why people suggest, oh, he's Nakamoto.
He's
definitely not.
Definitely not.
But the creator of Twitter and Cash App, Jack Dorsey, just released a Bluetooth messaging app called BitChat that doesn't need the internet or cell service, doesn't need traditional internet. Within an hour, users have started sending Bitcoin using the peer-to-peer encrypted mesh network. And they could do this. I think they use Wi-Fi as their communication method. Bluetooth. That's what it was. Yeah, Bluetooth. So this is using Bluetooth. Now, it's my understanding it has to aggregate off and then it kind of batches in order. So so Bitcoin can be used without internet. Well, it can be transacted without traditional internet via alternatives like satellite broadcast mesh networks or SMS. So still has to message into the network eventually, but it might not just be like HTML coded, World Wide Web services.
Yeah, internet is kind of a generic term. Like you said, it's not the World Wide Web, and SMS is very different. You can send it over radio waves. That's not World Wide Web, but it is a network. So
yeah, isn't there a Morse code one even?
I think there is. I'd have to look, but yeah, you can trust me. Bitcoiners have found almost you can embed it in an email if you want. I mean, there's tons of ways you can do it.
Can we transact Bitcoin via like hand language or sign language?
Sign language. Yeah.
Renegade.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about ETH, everybody. So we got some pretty big ETH news. Martini guy kind of summing up. Bit Digital just sold all of their Bitcoin and bought $200 million worth of ETH. They acquired $192 million worth. They raised $172 million from a public offering, and they sold their entire stack of Bitcoin, which is worth $28 million. His assessment: alt season is coming. So let's break into the story. So here they have two announcements. As of today, we've accumulated over 100,000 ETH, but we're not new to ETH, nor to our conviction in its opportunity. We've been holding, accumulating, and staking with the belief from day one it can be the dominant infrastructure. Over the last year, our conviction has strengthened alongside ETH's dominance. Dominance in what? I don't know. They have another announcement. It can rewrite the entire financial system. And so they accumulated 100,603, and they intend to aggressively add more to become the preeminent ETH holding company in the world. And so we talked about the number 200 million. They want to return to the roots. Crypto company positioned as a focused ETH treasury platform directed at one of the most impactful assets of our generation, ETH. There is no second best. All right, so here's another way of looking at it. Let's start kind of running some of these numbers. There's another one, SharpLink Gaming. We were covering that a week or two ago. And Bit Digital have in 1 month, remember, 1 month, they eaten up 82% of all the net new ETH issued since the merge. Plus spot ETFs hold 4 million ETH, which is 11x the net issuance. Basically, imagine an oil mine that yields 1 barrel a day, while Wall Street is swallowing 6. That is ETH today. Program burn turns supply negative whenever fees spike. Native yields a lot coins of validators, blah, blah, blah. Essentially, ETH is on course to be the most deflationary mainstream asset ever created. And anyone in the world can own it today for just $2,500. I mean, that's not really how I would classify it, but this is, just kind of looking at this number, this is pretty interesting, right? I mean, just these two companies eating all the ETH issued, and then the ETFs eating 11x net issuance. Now, it is important to remember there's a lot of ETH out before the merge. And so it's not like, there's none in existence and we're all just waiting on this one oil barrel and like, there's 6 of us trying to buy it. No, you turn around, there's a giant vast field of oil barrels.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, eventually that vast field of oil barrels, you just keep eating it and eating it and eating into it. And it's similar to what we're seeing with Bitcoin.
Well, and that's kind of like what you were talking about earlier with supply and demand. The demand for Ethereum is higher than it's ever been. Yes, there's a decent supply that's out there right now.
Yeah, and some ICO participant.
Well,
They're going to emerge and dump
exactly.
10 million here, 20 million here.
And the other thing I've noticed is most whales, like if you're talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum whales, most Bitcoin whales, or maybe not most, but a lot of Bitcoin whales are also ETH whales, and they're much more willing to part with their Ethereum than they are with their Bitcoin. And so that's another interesting thing that you're going to see a lot of early ETH whales that it will, I have a feeling it will end up getting a lot more distributed that way because of that. Now, people could argue that maybe it won't, but this is also, you know, to kind of follow up with what you were just talking about right there.
I pulled that up too. I saw that you pulled it up. It's a good post here.
You know, you just highlighted Bit Digital. I think these two, right? Tom Lee's and Bit Digital. Were those the two you were just talking about?
SharpLink is what is SharpLink?
Oh, SharpLink isn't even on this list. So we've got Joseph Lubin's
Bet. That's what
S-Bet is buying ETH.
Yes, Bet. So that's SharpLink.
Right. Tom Lee's Fundstrat. This was Bit Digital, which is the one you were just covering. You know, and in Trump's world, LibertyFi, BlackRock, Fidelity. We've even got Coinbase buying it. So there's just as much of a race going by. I would say, just as sovereign nations are accumulating Bitcoin as fast as possible to maintain their sovereign position and their buying power within the world, you're seeing financial institutions accumulate Ethereum just as aggressively to try to maintain their dominance within financial transactions. Now that we're seeing almost all stablecoins getting issued on Ethereum, we're seeing stocks now getting traded using the Ethereum network. He who holds a lot of the Ethereum is going to have a lot of power within the finance world. Bitcoin, you'll have a lot of power within just the actual world. It's like holding all the gold versus holding all the oil. You hold all the gold, that's very, very good. That's good for your nation.
So Vitalik's love interest is the most important thing in crypto right now.
Yeah,
it seems like he gets distracted sometimes.
I hope he doesn't have a girlfriend.
Hope he's wolf mode right now.
Please.
The true Sigma male.
We need all crypto founders to go full asexual wolf mode. You know, just
I want if you got an off day, I want you putting your hand in a bullet ant glove.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't want you going out on some date.
That's right.
All right, now this is pretty interesting. We were looking at the ETH inflows. 3 of the 11 days are outflows. 8 of the 11 are inflows. But what I found pretty interesting is how small the outflow days are comparatively to the inflows. So outflow of 11, 26, 1.9. And if you look, not a single inflow is even as low as 26. They're all that or higher. And so, you know, if you look at the amount of days, you're like, oh, man, a lot more inflow days than outflows. But the flows of those days are also much more impactful. So everyone's buying the ETH dip, baby. That's what I'm seeing here. There's that post. Now, let's talk about ETH BTC here. ETH eyeing 30% plus gains against Bitcoin. What's this giving us? Alt season buzz. And so ETH BTC forming a bull flag and is hinting at a potential breakout. We're going to measure it ourselves. We don't trust the article. And ETH is painting what appears to be a bull flag pattern versus Bitcoin. A bull flag is when the price consolidates in a downward sloping parallel channel, downward sloping like my forehead, following strong price boom. Typically, the pattern resolves when the price breaks above the upper trend line and rises by as much as the previous uptrend's height. That is called the flagpole. Now, this was trading inside the bull flag range, eyeing a breakout above the upper trend line. That'll get us to 0.31 potentially here. So this is the 3-day chart. Now you zoom out, boy, does this look ugly. This is ETH bleeding against Bitcoin. You can see, you know, gained against Bitcoin when it launched, but kind of stuck in a downtrend ever since here. Let's go to the regular chart. Gives us a little bit of a better picture. But now it's like, all right, maybe we found a new bottom. Maybe this is the bounce that we're waiting for. Let's look at the bull flag here. All right, so measure this. Gives us a potential target for just a ETH price against Bitcoin. It's going to give us potential, 0.3192. Isn't that essentially what they had? 0.31. So I got a little closer to 0.32. But ETH alt season, the signs are starting to show up. We are starting to get a little bit more strength in the RSI, some of these larger time frames. I think we have a bull div on the weekly. hidden div on the weekly. So the large time frames are saying ETH is about to reverse here. Thank you, Safe Moon. Show some love. Smash the likes, everybody. Let's shock the YouTube overlords.
Safe Moon Rob coming in, bringing back the 2020 trauma. But real quick, I did see a question earlier in the show. I thought it was a good one. I wanted to get your take on it. It was asking if we have changed our Bitcoin predictions for the end of this year at all. Since we at the beginning of the year we made some predictions. Are you still?
Yeah. I did say September 27. Now I'm like Q1 26 for the top. It's kind of what I'm.
You said September 25.
25.
Yeah.
Now I'm like Q1 26 potentially.
And you did give a little like September-ish for Bitcoin, maybe October, November for altcoins, because altcoins run a little bit. Like you were saying you're selling a little early. Like could run a little bit past, but you thought September was near the top. Is that right?
That's close. But now like the liquidity of the M2 and just all these countries printing more and more currency, typically that takes about 3-4 months. Once they turn those water faucets off, we have like another 3-4 months of bullish price action. So I'm going to be kind of monitoring that. So
you're essentially loosely the same, just could extend it a little bit, basically. Yeah.
And still 4-year cycle.
Yeah, and I'm essentially the same. Nothing has changed with my Bitcoin prediction. I've been around 200K, give or take 20 either side. Still think we could see 180K Bitcoin the end of this year. But I also agree we're going to see sustained buying. We're going to see sustained money printing. We're going to see rate cuts in September. I'm not necessarily ready to say we're going to see a full pullback January 26 like we have previously in 4-year cycles. I think right now, and I say this with a grain of salt because I've heard this so many times, and you've heard this, like that this time is different. This time does feel a little different.
Yeah.
But so did last time, and so did the time before. So I'm going to be very carefully assessing things around October, November of this year. If things are I probably will be selling a lot of altcoins around that time, especially if they're going crazy. I haven't decided fully what to do with Bitcoin yet. I don't think I'm going to be selling my Bitcoin and trying to buy back lower or anything like that. But we'll keep you guys updated. Just follow along, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and we'll tell you. That's one thing we do on this channel is we tell you exactly what we do with our money, especially in the Discord.
And Vanya says, why make a prediction? Well, that's the only way to determine if someone is accurate or not. They got to go out there and make predictions, and then we can kind of check on those predictions. And so, it's the best way to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, and why not? It's fun, right? Like to DZ's point, you get to know if your analysis is accurate by making us, it doesn't really matter if we're right or wrong. Like we're taking action either way based on our analysis, but it's fun. I mean, we like coming out here, hanging out with you guys, telling you what we think. We like to hear what you guys think, and then we see who's right and who's wrong. That's why we do what we do.
All right, let's talk a Dogecoin, everybody. It took Dogecoin 1 week to go from 17 cents to 42 cents last November. Do not sleep on Doge. And he kind of, just essentially says, we have a halving, kind of have this downtrend that we end up breaking, and then boom, we get a nice little alt season. We have this downtrend. He's kind of coiling it to this downward megaphone pattern. Boom, that's where you're going to end up seeing a pretty large uptrend. And then I wanted to pull up Doge BTC because this thing did lose local support, but came down to a pretty important level where we go to the dailies here. You can see it acted as resistance in Bitcoin Dogecoin's past, and apparently TradingView just can't handle the daily chart on Doge BTC. I'm just gonna blame the Russies. I don't know. It's Putin's fault. Oh, there we go. All right, so looking, you can see you broke the trend line. Kind of want to look down at this level and see where, boom, right there. You can see we put in, I think we're down below that even, horizontal line. Kind of see a point of control here to here. Look. Yeah, okay. Boom, support. Kind of trapped in that range, but you can see the wicks coming down. And we're pretty much at a strong inflection point. Doge must choose a direction. What is the relative strength index? Telling us hidden divergence, 3-day, definite bullish divergence. Last time we saw bull divs on the 3-day was that run up in November. So the charts are saying impending bullishness on Doge. But TJ, would you buy Doge?
I don't hate Doge. I buy a little. I mean, I'm not accumulating it right now, but you know, if somebody said they're buying based on that analysis you just did, yeah, it looks like it can move. I mean, it
I
is
have a little
generally
bit on Robinhood.
it's
just kind of
generally a fast
there.
mover when alt season does kick off. Like I think we'll see ETH move. I think we'll see Doge move. So yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. It's just not generally for me. I stick to Bitcoin, layer ones, and DeFi related projects, or things that I feel like are within the meta of this cycle. Now, I'm not, you know, Doge meme coins definitely part of the meta. Just I've just never been a big meme coiner. Not saying you guys, I mean, hey, more power to you if you guys want to make money with it. I've never been big on NFTs either. It just feels like such another world that I have to learn, and I just haven't had the time. Like I feel like if you're going to trade NFTs or if you're going to trade meme coins, it's almost like you need to do just that. You know, almost like trading and accumulating. Like if you're going to trade Bitcoin, focus on Bitcoin. Don't go trading, you know, leverage on Doge or something like that. But
Yeah, we called the exact top on Doge. If you recall, I said it's the Thursday before Saturday Night Live. Only, I won't say only an idiot, but like holding until the episode, pretty clearly not the move.
No.
You know, in my opinion, if you've just been in crypto for a while, you know, it's not the announcement, it's the announcement of the announcement you want to sell. And so, yeah, it peaked on that exact day. I didn't sell my whole bag though.
Yeah.
I couldn't let go of everything.
It's hard. It's hard. It's always hard to sell 100% of a crypto bag. Like part of you always wants to hold a tiny bit back because you've got that little bit of belief, unless you're just like down only and you hate the coin. But
all right, let's take a little Aerodrome. Aerodrome's got the stats on what percentage of the base engine is it? It's making up almost at least almost half here. In the last year, Aerodrome contributed $260 million to the chain GDP. This is 44% of all the fees, while surpassing all other apps that were on base, and they're just getting started. So Aerodrome has beaten Uniswap, beaten Virtuals, Aave, and Synthetic Futures. Now, again, these other products do have products on other chains. This is only base that we're looking at, but Aerodrome is just, you know, crushing the base ecosystem. And if you don't know much about base, base is Coinbase's Ethereum layer 2 without a token. So there's not really a way to get an exposure except for Coinstock or Ethereum. And so a lot of people look at Aerodrome as kind of the oil underneath the hood, keeping everything running smoothly. So I'm still pretty bullish on Aerodrome. I'm pretty sure you are too, right?
yeah, absolutely. One of my larger holdings. Been doing really well.
Well, there you go. There you go. All right. There you go. Aeronauts.
Yeah.
Is that what
Aeronauts.
they're called?
Mm-hmm.
All right. They're not the green arrows. Is it because it's been so many red arrows?
Yeah. I don't know.
Ooh, you just got DZ'd arrow holders. Wait, I'm an arrow holder. All right, let's talk about Salana here. According to CoinDesk, SEC has asked issuers to amend or refile their spot salami ETF applications by the end of July. This is hinting at early approvals. Official deadline is October 10th. We've done a video on this, but it seems like sources are saying the SEC is under pressure to accelerate the process. Who's giving them the pressure, TJ?
Who's giving the SEC the pressure? Probably the current administration.
I think it's Barron. I think it's specifically Barron.
He's just sending like passive aggressive memes. That's all he's doing. He's not actually saying anything. He's just sending memes about like Gary Gensler and SEC, and this might be you.
I was thinking like ominous images of a suitcase laden with you know what, and it just says, "I like my suitcase." Picture of Jerome's front door. He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that. Solana activity did hit a new record high. What is the record high that they're talking about? It was a surge in activity with active addresses surging in the previous 24 hours. I don't know if this is all organic, and we'll look at the bar chart and you tell me what you think, but there's definitely a rise in daily active addresses, and this is going to correlate increased user engagement, potentially fueling, you know, demand for the token. But that's the spike right there. You think that's all humans, or is there potential bot activity there?
Let me
It's
see.
almost a little too inorganic in the rise.
What's that? The orange right there?
The orange. Yeah, we're looking at the orange, which is daily active addresses.
For Solana?
Yeah.
And that just happened?
Yeah, it was a big spike on the 24 hours, like, you know, previous. Yeah, so we're looking at like 24-hour periods right here.
Yeah, that doesn't line up. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's already a lot of like, even go to the middle. There's a lot of bot activity in the middle of that, you know. So
probably.
no,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean,
definitely.
there's
You're right.
tons
It's definite. There's definite
Yeah.
bot activity on Solana for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's sniping bots and all that sort of stuff. That's where a lot of that stuff comes from. Trading, you know, like high frequency trading stuff or whatever on
All right,
the
TJ, I'm
meme
gonna need you
coins.
to go full screen. I stifled a sneeze. Can you do that for me?
Oh yeah. I got you. Here you go. So looking at this, there's definitely a spike there. Now, sometimes when you see on this data, it can be a change in the way they do the reporting or the way they're measuring something. Either way, I do think activity is ticking up on Solana. I think like I said before, Solana is going to perform well this cycle. But yeah, that looks a little inorganic. But I will say, find me a metric within blockchain and I will find you one that blockchain companies and founders know how to game. You want to game your volume, you can. You want to game your users, you can. You want to game transactions, you can. You can pretty much game most metrics within crypto. So, but still think Solana is a great project.
I still think it's a great project. Some people don't take the Solana criticism well. Steve-O actually had a post today. It was the Trump ETF news, and instead of celebrating Solana, he criticized Cardano.
Oh.
So that just tells me where your mind share is at. You love Cardano, you dream about it. All right, now speaking of Cardano, Sean Ryan Show. It's one of the world's largest podcasts out there, hosted by Sean Ryan. He just had Charles Hoskinson on yesterday. The quote that's got everybody going crazy: Cardano's been running for 8 years, never gone down, has more uptime than Bitcoin, and it's never been hacked.
It's a good quote.
Good quote. It's a good quote. What do you? A lot of people aren't familiar with the value overflow incident regarding Bitcoin.
Like 2011 or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure about the more uptime. It does beat Bitcoin and the never gone down, but the more uptime. 2011. I mean, Cardano came out much later than that.
Yeah.
So maybe that one's not accurate, but never been hacked. There he goes right there. So it's true. It's bloody true, says the Palm intern there. All right, now let's talk about Robinhood. This is an interesting, people saying, oh, man, it's over. The race is done. There's what's going to happen. No, there's still a lot more dominoes to fall, especially the ETH L2 landscape. Arbitrum won Robinhood, but the race is far from over. We still got Fidelity, Visa, MasterCard, FanDuel, DraftKings, Stripe, eToro, Revolut. They will all come on chain next. And, there's a good chance some are going to use Solana. I think some are going to use Arbitrum. I think some will use Base.
Maybe. I think most of Arbitrum, Layer 2, I think almost every single one of those. We know Visa's worked with Ethereum. We know MasterCard's worked with Ethereum. We know Stripe works with Ethereum. Stripe will probably go on multiple chains. Like they're going to be.
Will they'll all use this one chain, this one altcoin?
Chainlink.
I think that. I honestly do believe that.
I do too. That you have to. You can't.
Remember,
really...
Chainlink's on Solana now too.
Chainlink's on everything. That's the whole purpose. That's the name. They link the chains and they link them with the real world. You can't. FanDuel can't exist on chain without Chainlink.
Oh God, FanDuel will have so many link commits. I think is or link pull requests. Mm-hmm. Basically, Oracle data requests where they have to burn link to acquire the information off chain and bring it on chain.
DraftKings, Revolut, all of that stuff will all use. So I think the point he's getting at is who will win: Optimism, Base, Arbitrum. There's so many L2s on Ethereum. Arbitrum won this one. Who wins the rest will be the interesting Matic. Could Matic win any of these? Could Optimism? Who knows? I think most of these will start on Ethereum and then go to where the liquidity is. So Solana will be the next most likely one, in my opinion. Like Stripe, they're mostly, integrating with USDC. So they're going to go across any chain that they can. But yeah, I mean, the game is just beginning. So if you think you're late, if you think the opportunity is gone, don't buy into that fallacy. It's absolutely not true. You can change your life for the better. There's no better place to do it, in my opinion. There's no more interesting industry out there right now than crypto. You just have to plug in and don't get lulled to sleep by all these prices and the boredom. Sometimes they're really find me a place where you think you can make more money faster. I challenge you to do it. I don't think you will.
Not for me.
Yeah,
maybe young.
I know where you're going to say.
You're right though. You're right. 100% right. Let's talk about, speaking of fallacies, how about this XRP fallacy? Expert shuts down the XRP burn rate panic with a shocking 70,000 year supply claim. We've talked about this XRP burn rate. Do you remember off the top of your head what the XRP burn rate is?
I have no idea what the XRP.
100,000 transactions burns 1 XRP.
Wow.
100,000. And so there were some claims that the burn rate could lead to exhaustion within the next few centuries. This is what's funny to me. It's like, oh my God, we're going to run out of XRP in the year 2400. Panic, sell. No one knows what the heck the world's going to look like 50 years from now, let alone 300. However, the alarm was short-lived as Smoke, I know with the Q, stepped in to address the misunderstanding. The idea that XRP could run out in 250 years is not only inaccurate, but also contradicts the technical data available from the ledger. It was designed with a fixed supply of 100 billion. Over a time, a small amount is burned as transaction fees. 100,000 transactions burns 1. This decreases the total supply. Despite the deflationary model, actual rate of destruction remains very low. According to XRPL documentation, according to this analysis, it would take 70,000 years to destroy the entire XRP supply at the current burn rate. So don't think we're going to be burning our way into like a highly deflationary model. We're not going to burn our way into like non-existent chain. So a little food for thought there. What are your thoughts on the Bitcoin, miner revenue? I think it's only about 10 cents out of every dollar comes from transaction fees. What do they do when there's no more Bitcoin left to mine?
Yeah, that's a big thing that comes up a lot. I would be curious. Let me pull up real quick. I don't know that that's accurate of what they get because the fees have gone up a lot. Since
it goes up a lot with like ordinal mint,
right?
And then it'll go down where it's like even smaller than the 10%.
The block.
But it's one of those things that like just depends on what snapshot you're looking at.
I'm not too worried about that. Because from what I've seen with the trend, the fees are balancing out. Obviously the block rewards get cut slowly. The block rewards end roughly around the year 2140. I'm trying to get Grok to give me a let's see. For instance, in early 23, fees reached over 50% of the block rewards.
Things like 2140 is kind of like the year that's thrown out.
Yeah, 2140. I'm just trying to see what percentage of the rewards were fees. It looks like around 10% right now. Is that what you said?
Yep. Yeah, 10 cents on the dollar.
And roughly. It got as high as 50% when, like you said, all the ordinals were going on and stuff like that. So I do believe the fees will be enough as time goes on. The prices will continue to rise, and then the math will continue to work. Because obviously by the year 2140, some of the predictions on prices and stuff, if Bitcoin's $20 million, then getting a teeny tiny little piece of a Bitcoin in a fee will make it well worth it for the miners to do it. So I still think that will happen. Luckily, I'm not going to have to be around to see it. So
I'm going to be going to Charles Hoskinson's longevity ranch, and nice. I'm going to live like a tortoise.
Speaking of Charles Hoskinson, I did have some breaking Cardano news for you. I wanted to make sure we worked in before the show ended. Yeah. So this is from a delegated rep there, Chris, on the one of the Cardano OG running a node here. He said, Cardano fam, this is big. Reserve One is launching a 1 billion digital asset treasury that includes ADA. The institutions are here. This is the announcement. We just launched what we anticipate to be the first publicly traded accessible institutionally governed crypto reserve. It's called Reserve One, and it changes everything. Public markets, diversified assets anchored in Bitcoin, long-term strategy, but they will be owning, let's see, I think he's got the breakdown here. Very similar to what the other fund DZ just mentioned.
I see the Salana logo.
Yep, Salana, Cardano. I can't get this any bigger, but so I see Cardano. I see probably Ethereum, Solana, probably XRP. That other one that's hard to see.
It does kind of look like XRP,
but very similar.
ETH, XRP, Solana, ADA. Okay,
and we are seeing Cardano getting included in a lot of these. Obviously, the one we covered at the top of the show had Kronos instead of Cardano. This one has Cardano instead of Crow. But yeah, we're going to see a mass accumulation of a lot of these assets, I believe. So very bullish.
Just a small distinction on this. Bitcoin needs to double every 4 years. If it doesn't, fees will rise a lot. The percentage of fees making up income will rise a lot, but we want the fees to go up a lot too. We do have some potential news to keep an eye out on. What are we, about 2 weeks away on the day? Trump administration is going to release a Bitcoin report July 22nd. And so will it include her proposal to buy 1 million Bitcoin? All eyes. And almost, you ever get that sneeze and it's like on the cusp? I have no sun to look at to force it to happen. So
I was wondering what was going on over there. Yeah.
Or maybe I was just
we got sneezy
I
deezy.
had a Cardano short open. It's doing so well. Here we got some just interesting data on the 10-year note yield.
Yeah, that was from yesterday. I think it's changed since then, but it is interesting. Every time Trump comes out and talks about tariffs, yields go up. You know, they don't seem to like it.
Yeah, the market is saying the strength of the U.S. hegemony is not good. It's not good. They don't like it. They don't like it at all. So it's just something to keep an eye out on. All right, well, folks, I'm going to consume the rest of that Charles Hoskinson interview. I might put out a Cardano video tomorrow if you guys want that. But right now, we're about to drop basically some updated ETF news. So we have Salana ETF. We have all these ETFs, altcoin ETFs. What's the actual real data? What are the dates? What are we really looking at? And so that video is going to be coming out tonight. So are you expecting a Solana ETF in a week or in a month, in a year? I answer all those questions. I go to the Bloomberg Bros. I do a little bit of a deep dive. So turn on notifications so you can see that. And I give my assessment on which is the better altcoin if you're trying to trade off this news. Is it XRP? Is it Solana? Is it Cardano? And I don't talk about it in a vacuum. If these ETFs are approved, how should they perform? And what should what's your risk analysis going to look like? So go check out that video. Also, go join us in the Discord.
Yeah,
folks.
we've got DeFi Crypto Airdrops, one of our other channels that covers all things DeFi. If you guys aren't following them, make sure to. But we're going to be doing within the Discord. We do a weekly DeFi mastermind where everybody comes together and shares their DeFi positions, helps each other. We're doing that at 12 Eastern today in about 20 minutes. The link is in the description of this video. We'll see you guys. We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.